My dad has always been overly nice, to the point where he can be a pushover. That matters for this story, so I wanted to say it up front. We live in uptown Chicago. Our family is pretty small, so our Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners are usually quiet, with fewer than 6 people. This happened on Thanksgiving night last year, in 2019. Dinner was almost ready. My dad had gone to the corner store to grab a few last-minute things like stuffing and cranberry sauce that we forgot. While he was gone, my mom and I started setting the table, and my brother and grandparents were already seated and chatting. When my dad finally came back, he did not come alone. Along with the groceries, he brought a man with him. The man looked middle-aged, unclean, and was wearing a green puffer jacket with black pants. He clearly appeared homeless. My dad introduced him as Stefan and said he would be joining us for dinner. My brother and I exchanged uncomfortable looks. Then my mom and I did the same. As my dad started heating the stuffing, he explained how he met Stefan outside in the cold and felt that as a Christian family, we should do the right thing. He said no one should be alone on Thanksgiving. My grandma politely invited Stefan to sit down with us. I could tell my mom was not okay with this, because she leaned over and whispered something to my dad. It was too late, though. Stefan was already sitting at the table. I was relieved I was not sitting next to him, because I could smell his clothes from across the table. I could not understand what my dad was thinking. When all the food was finally ready, we sat down and said our prayer. My brother and grandma tried holding hands with Stefan, but he did not take either of their hands. I watched him quietly during the prayer. His eyes were wide open, his mouth did not move, and he just stared ahead like he did not want to be there at all. Once the prayer ended, we began eating. Several family members tried making conversation with him, but he barely responded. His answers were short and flat, usually just one word. The whole dinner felt tense and awkward. I did not know what my dad saw in him or why he felt comfortable letting a stranger into our home. Helping someone in need is one thing, but this felt wrong. Stefan helped himself to the food, but the way he ate made it worse. He was messy, his fingers were greasy, and food even got into his hair. It was uncomfortable to watch. Eventually, he said he needed to use the bathroom. My dad pointed him toward it, down the half-flight of stairs, and to the left. Stefan stood up and walked off without saying thank you. Once we were sure he was out of earshot, my mom and grandparents immediately started questioning my dad. They asked what he was thinking bringing a stranger like that into our home. My dad whispered that he just felt bad and wanted to do something kind. My mom asked how we were supposed to get him to leave now. My dad insisted we were doing the right thing and that we would all understand eventually. We continued eating, but after a while, my brother asked where Stefan was. He had been gone for a long time. My dad went downstairs to check the bathroom. He came back moments later and said Stefan was not in there. My grandmas looked worried, and my grandpa started swearing under his breath. My dad, my brother, and I searched the apartment. We checked every room and every closet while my dad called Stefan's name. He was nowhere. Then we noticed the window in my parents' bedroom was open wide enough for someone to climb through. The conclusion was obvious. My mom yelled at my dad, saying this is exactly what happens when you let a stranger into your home. As much as it hurt, we all agreed. My dad closed the window, and we tried to finish the night normally, but all we talked about was what had happened. After dessert, my grandparents went home. We cleaned up, and eventually everyone went to their rooms. I am fuzzy on the exact timing, but I think it was about an hour later when I turned off my TV and lay down to sleep. That was when I heard it. Breathing, not mine. I froze. I did not move or sit up. I could not tell where it was coming from. I stared at my bedroom door, trying to build the courage to run. Then I heard faint shuffling, like fabric brushing together. I felt a hand press down on my neck, and someone breathed close to my ear. That was when I screamed. I shot out of bed and ran into the hallway, yelling for my dad. Everyone came out of their rooms. When we all looked toward my bedroom, Stefan stepped out. He looked at us briefly, then walked out the front door while my dad shouted at him to leave. My dad did not try to touch him or stop him. By the time the police arrived, Stefan was long gone. The officers said the important thing was that no one was hurt, and that we needed to make sure all doors and windows were locked. They took a description and left. I like to believe my dad learned something from that night. You cannot trust everyone, no matter how bad you want to help. A few years ago, on Black Friday, I went to Best Buy. Well, technically, it was just after midnight, the night before Black Friday. My local Best Buy always stays open late for it. I went with my best friend Taylor because I wanted a new laptop and figured I might find a few other deals too. We split up once we got inside so we could browse on our own. While I was looking at laptops, a guy wearing a blue Best Buy shirt came up and asked if I needed help. I told him the kind of specs I was looking for, and he started walking around with me, pointing things out. He showed me one laptop he said he personally liked, then asked what I planned on using it for. I thought it was a little strange, but assumed it was part of his sales routine. I told him it would mostly be for school and basic internet stuff. After that, though, his focus shifted. He stopped really talking about laptops and started asking personal questions instead, like where I was from and where I went to school. I do not mean to sound full of myself, but I am used to getting attention from guys when I go out, and this felt different. It became obvious that he was flirting, and it made me uncomfortable. I tried steering the conversation back to the laptop and told him politely that I was in a rush. He did not take the hint at all. He actually asked for my phone number. I told him clearly that I was not interested. Around that moment, I saw Taylor walking nearby. I made eye contact with her and mouthed the word help. She immediately caught on and came over, calling my name and saying we needed to go. I apologized quickly and followed her away. We walked to the opposite side of the store, and I told her how creepy the guy was and that I did not want to run into him again. We decided to leave and do our shopping another day. We were both starving, so we went to a nearby diner that is open all night. We sat in a booth and started looking at the menu. The place was almost empty, except for one man sitting at the counter with his back toward us. I had not noticed him when we first walked in. He was wearing a gray jacket, but something about him caught my attention. I recognized his hair. I quietly told Taylor to look at him. As we stared, he tried to casually turn his head toward us, then quickly looked away when he realized we were already watching him. It was the same guy from Best Buy. I whispered that he had followed us. We immediately got up and left the diner. I drove us straight back to my apartment as fast as I could. Taylor stayed over that night because neither of us felt safe. Later on, there were 3 slow knocks on my living room window. We both screamed. My apartment is on the ground floor, which made it even worse. We were convinced it was him. When we tried looking out the window, all we saw was darkness. We could not see anything outside at all. That was enough for us to call the police. When the officers knocked on the door, we finally felt some relief. They discovered that the window was blocked because someone had hung a shirt over it. It was not just any shirt. It was a blue Best Buy shirt. Pinned to it was a sticky note that read, "I do not work at Best Buy, bitch." The police suggested filing a harassment report, but I did not know his name or identity. They explained that I could hire a lawyer and request surveillance footage from Best Buy, but it felt overwhelming. I ended up dropping it and stayed at Taylor's apartment for a few days instead. I still cannot believe someone followed us all the way from a store to my home. Some people are seriously unhinged.